If fear is the only thing stopping us from achieving our dreams, and we only fear what we don't understand, then the antidote to fear is knowledge. All we have to do is find out who has the knowledge that we need to conquer our fears and achieve our entrepreneurial dreams. My name is Callum Walker, and welcome to the podcast that will help you figure it out and conquer this lonely entrepreneurial journey. Hello everyone, and welcome to the podcast. I am back from Sri Lanka. I'm back. And do you know what? It was interesting. I was coming on here and I was about to say, my God, it's so hard coming back from the warmth and sunshine of Asia, being in 30 degrees in nothing but t-shirts and shorts to the cold and grey of the UK. But then I was immediately hit by walking in my field of just the immense amount of greenery. Like everything, I've only been gone 2 weeks and everything's just sprouted. And don't know that. So right now, that smell, the smell of almost kind of like the Great British Summer. It's just hit my nose, and I'm like, don't complain. Oh my God, it is beautiful here. So yeah, back from Sri Lanka, and what an amazing place. If you've ever, I don't know, thought about going, go. If you've never thought about going, go. My God, what an incredible place. But anyway, I'm not here to talk to you about my holiday in Sri Lanka. I am going to share with you something that I did learn while in Sri Lanka, though. And it will really help you if you really kind of struggle with... Well, I tell you what, a really interesting thing that happens. It's kind of strange. Like, we create this business for freedom, yeah? We decide to start a business for the freedom to, have freedom of time, freedom of money, freedom to travel, maybe, freedom to do whatever work that we want with whoever it is that we want. Sorry, I'm just scooting down here. I'm just walking through some woods. But yeah, we created this business for freedom, and it's really interesting because, I don't know, somewhere along the line, things start to kind of change where we can almost kind of like feel trapped or chained to our business, that our freedom completely disappears. And it's almost that like our life is dictated by our business. If you do almost kind of like find yourself falling into that category where you do start to find that, I don't know, your life is just fully dictated by this thing, and it's really kind of taking over you, then what I learned while I was away will really help you. So basically, it was really interesting because Sri Lanka is almost kind of like the first country that I've ever been to where the primary religion is Buddhism. I've been to a couple of countries before where Buddhism is practiced, but not to the extent where it is the major religion. And it was quite amazing, really. Like, I don't know, I was just really fascinated, and I decided to, of course, read some books all on Buddhism. And it was a fascinating religion. And if you can call it religion, it is religion, but it's more kind of like a way of life. But I really found this amazing book. It's called The Heart of the Buddha's Teachings. And it really kind of shares like what the main lessons are that the Buddha really kind of shares. If you haven't given it a read, whether you're spiritual, whether you're religious or not, it's kind of irrelevant. It would definitely help you in terms of overcoming the challenges that you present you with. It's definitely helped me. Sorry if it's a bit windy. UK, we don't have a winded truck. But yeah, and the reason why I'm kind of bringing this up was that there was a real profound lesson that I learned from reading the books that the Buddha shared that kind of related to the trap that I got myself in with my business. And he basically kind of was talking about Buddhism and his teachings as my teachings are a roadmap to help you live the best life that you possibly can. But a mistake that you can make is by thinking that my teachings should be your life. And he basically almost kind of said, imagine my teachings are almost like me pointing my finger at the moon. showing you this is where the moon is and this is what the moon is. But then he said, don't mistake the finger for the moon. And that really, really, really hit me. Why did it hit me? Well, I think first of all, if we look at it in the Buddhist context first, um, it's almost like don't see my teachings as life. See my teachings as a way to live life. So it's almost that, like, he's almost kind of saying, like, don't base your whole life as like, right, I need to live to be a Buddhist. It's more like, no, use Buddhism as a way to live. So what's that got to do with us within our coaching business? Well, I know for myself, and I kind of like want to weave this in with something that I once heard Garrett J. White say. That he basically was he was talking about how we need to operate as coaches, how we need to operate as entrepreneurs. And he said something that I've shared on the podcast before, where he said, you need to be a walking advert for the life that someone can live, the person that they can become, and the result that they can get. And then he said this huge statement and asked this question, which is, are you living a life you would want someone else to live? And I remember when he said that, I was like, no, absolutely not. I wouldn't want anyone to live my life. I'm battered, I'm broken, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, I don't really eat a lot. I'm not really training much. I'm just broken and chained to this business. And that really kind of changed things for me. And this is kind of the lesson that I want to share with you guys, in terms of, I know for myself, I mistook the whole point of running this business. I almost kind of created a life to give me the business that I thought that I wanted, whereas I got it the wrong way round. That actually our business should be a vehicle to allow us to live the life that we want. So my question to you is, first of all, how often do you actually spend thinking about the life that you actually want to live? I know for myself, I've definitely fallen into the trap multiple times of focusing more on how can I grow the business? How can I make more money? How can I get more clients? How can I serve them better? Versus what life do I actually want to live? What do I want to do with Alice? Where do I want to go? Where do I want to travel? How do I want to live? And then what business can I create to facilitate that? Again, if you kind of look at it, I almost kind of mistook the finger for the moon. I thought that the business was my life, and I plowed my whole life into the business. Again, thinking that the business being the finger, whereas actually I should have been looking at the moon. Whereas what life do you want to live? And I know that there's so many traps that this can almost kind of cause, whether it was with your clients, in terms of their nutrition, with their training. I know for myself, I went through a period where I was in like insane physical shape. I was eating so well. I was lean as fuck, but my God, was I miserable. I was miserable. Again, I mistook the finger for the moon. I started to almost kind of like live my whole life just to get into shape, whereas actually the whole point of getting into shape was to become the best version of myself, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. But no one wanted to spend their time with me because I was boring as fuck. I wouldn't go out, and I'm not saying drinking, but I wouldn't go out for dinner. I remember the one time I was so obsessed with being ketogenic, and I was so paranoid and scared of not staying in ketosis. I remember I went out for my friend's 21st birthday, and I genuinely did this. I ordered a pizza and I just ate the cheese on the pizza. Yeah, I did that because I was petrified of being kicked out of ketosis. I had engineered my whole life to fit my training. Again, I mistook the finger for the moon. So again, if you're not quite getting the analogy there, Buddha is saying, like, hey, I'm pointing at the moon. The teachings are the way to live your life. The teachings are not your life. So again, I just think, how can this help us? How can this serve us? I think, again, with your clients, make sure that they're clear on what is the life that they want to live, how do they want to live their life, and how can they use their fitness as a vehicle to live their life to the best of their possible abilities. It's kind of myself, I've kind of been on a journey very recently of really kind of trying to discover what my faith is. And I've definitely kind of got closer to defining that through Buddhism. I found it very, very fascinating and quite liberating in terms of it was something I really, really connected with. Um, but again, the whole point of practicing the teachings that are within Buddhism are to be the best version of myself so that I can show up for Alice, so I can show up for my family, so I can show up for my friends, so I can show up for you guys, so I can be happy. My happiness is not in those teachings. Those teachings are a way to improve my happiness. Same with my business. My business is not my life. My business is a vehicle to live the life that I want to live. So again, my question to you is really, how often do you actually get clear on asking yourself, what life do I actually want to live? And what business can I create to give me the life that I want to live? So right now, what I want you to do is really kind of step back and have a thought like, right, okay, how do I want to live my life in the next 6 months? What do I want to do? Where do I want to be? Who do I want to be spending that time with? And how can I adjust? How can I engineer my business to allow me to go and do that? Because if you do feel trapped, if you do feel chained within it, remember, we are in charge of how we run our business. Like we are. Whether you feel like it or not, if you don't like your schedule right now, technically, I'm really sorry if this triggers you, but technically it's your fault. And I know that because it was my fault. If I was working 60, 70, 80 hours a week, which I was, that was my fault. It was my choice. I chose to work those hours. I chose to work with those people who sucked the life out of me. I chose to put that content scheduling schedule together. I chose that whole thing. But again, I chose the business versus choosing the life. So if you're not happy with your circumstance right now, if you're not happy with the people that you're working with, if you're not happy with the amount of money that you're earning, if you're not happy with the work that you're actually doing, remember, we can choose. We can choose who we want to work with. We can choose when we want to work with them. We can choose what the work is that we actually are doing with them. We can choose those. So take a step back, go for a walk, change your environment, have a breath, and really think deep. How do I want to live my life? Because when you can really think about that and start asking that question, then you can start to engineer your business to be the vehicle that you want it to actually be, to give you the life that you want to live. And I know for myself that I'm walking proof of that now. I was insanely unhappy with my business. I was working with people that sucked the life out of me. I was working stupid hours. I was doing so many things that I didn't want to do. And I was chained. I couldn't really go away on holiday. I couldn't make choices with Alice. Like I couldn't. And I was being a burden to her. But now I've engineered my business in a way where I actually made money while I was in Sri Lanka without doing anything. I did the same when I was in Zimbabwe. I had multiple sign-ups without having one-to-one conversations or conversations at all while I was sitting in a cafe in Dubai with my auntie Sal having a lovely time. Now that's not to impress you, but it's to show you that it can be done. Like if you followed this podcast for a while, like it has taken me a long time to be able to engineer this and to make these things happen. It's probably taken me the past 2 years to really be able to put that into place, to be able to go to Sri Lanka without the guilt and to know that my business is in a good spot and not be broken at the same time. But it's the fruit of, it's the fruits of my labor of asking the question, like, right, how can I make sure that the business that I'm putting together is going to be a vehicle to give me the life that I want to live? So begin asking yourself that question. Remember, do not mistaken the finger for the moon. The point is not the business. The point is your life. The business is the finger pointing at the moon. The business can be a roadmap to take you to where you want to go. Your training is a vehicle to allow you to be the best version of yourself. Your nutrition is a vehicle to allow you to be the best version of yourself, to live the life that you want to live. Don't get it the wrong way around like I did. Never forget, if every one of your clients gave you just one new client, you've doubled your business. Have you got a client who isn't losing weight right now and you have absolutely no idea why? And maybe you're worrying that if nothing changes, they could drop off at any moment?
Well, I've got a free nutrition masterclass for you where I reveal the secret nutrition strategy that guarantees that stuck client loses 2 to 4 pounds in the next 7 days without lowering their calories, upping their cardio, or even tracking macros. Click the link in the description to get access to the free Elite Nutrition Secrets masterclass and get your client moving in the right direction, stopping them dropping off today.